Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. Today we're talking with Greg from Allegheny Arsenal, MG34.com, appropriately about the MG34 trigger group, because it's kind of like wizard voodoo that a lot of people don't want to get into.
Yes.
So you're the expert here. You're going to show us all about the 34 trigger group.
Most of the time you have the trigger groups, and if you get it in a parts kit, you're going to find that it's going to be covered in cosmoline and probably impacted with cosmoline, as this one is. Cosmoline is thoroughly impacted throughout it. It's probably impacted underneath the grip panels, and certainly you can see it oozing out from underneath the trigger group here.
Yeah, it's a pretty gunky one.
It is. And even if you have a clean one to start out with, if you actually have a trigger group in your gun and it's firing, you're going to end up with unburned powders and with oils and the thickened oils and grease inside here. And from time to time, you're probably going to want to clean that out, because it's all the parts that are basically operating your firearm. But the group itself is a little daunting to take apart if you've never done it before. So we're going to try to do that here and show you exactly how to take this apart and what to do to put it back together again and help you clean it. Okay, we're going to start by taking apart the internals of the trigger group. The first thing you do is pull back on the trigger and lift the trigger assembly up and out. So you pull back and you lift up on it pops up out of the back, and the trigger assembly comes out. The next thing is the small transfer bar here, and that assembly has three pieces with it. It has the alignment pin and it has the spring underneath it, and this is the one part that you have to watch, because you don't want to lose that little spring. It is it's very difficult, and basically here you're prying the pin that holds it in place comes in from the side, but the spring tension is coming up from the bottom.
There we go.
So there's the transfer bar and the alignment pin, and there's your spring. As you can see, the internal area is completely full of cosmoline, as will be underneath the grip panels. Now, you want to at least take the grip panels off once to be able to get the cosmoline out and get it cleaned up. And the grip panels are held on by two screws on either side, which one side is basically a split screw, and the easiest way to take that out is if you have a split screwdriver, but you can take it out using a small screwdriver on one side and a larger one on the other side. So the easiest way to do that is in a vise. You have to be careful when you put in a vise, especially with the Bakelite grips, because they're very fragile and there's the chance of breaking them. So you just basically want to hold it in place in the vise.
Cracking that would be bad.
A small screwdriver will usually get into the split screw if you don't have a split screwdriver, and then a larger screwdriver on the other side.
There we go.
So we got the screws out. Now the grip panels themselves have alignment bolts on both sides. The thicker side, obviously, larger alignment bolts, and this side, smaller ones. And what you have to do on there is to push down on the grip panel, and you can see the alignment bolts here, and the slots that they go into, right there. You have a frame with a lot of grease. I've seen them when they're completely full, absolutely like they just they injected in there and completely filled up the grip. So you take solvent and you basically clean those off, and so you have a fresh frame to start out with. This is basically a grip taken apart. It's not the original one we started out with. This is a relatively clean one that we had also. And you basically have your grip and your grip frame pieces, your trigger assembly, and this can be taken down further by removing these two pins down here. They're both spring loaded. The disconnector on top is spring loaded, and the full auto trip is also spring loaded. But in general, if you use solvent and clean them off, they're usually cleaned up pretty good without having to take them apart. You have the trigger spring and the trigger spring guide, which again can be cleaned up a little bit on those two pieces. You got the trigger bar. You have the small trip, the alignment pin, and the small trip screw, or small strip spring, which is very small and needs to be,
and really just wants to go flying across the room.
Which aren't flying and you'll never find. The grips that we have here are actually reproduction. My feeling is that the original aluminum grips that came on, the ones from Bulgaria and the Eastern Bloc countries, were actually grip frames that the Germans put on for use in cold weather, because the Bakelite grips that were normally on them in sub-zero temperatures have a tendency to break and crumble into small pieces, and the aluminum grips would be a lot stronger under those circumstances.
All right, so let's go ahead and reassemble this.
Okay, I'll start with the grip frame, and the easiest way to do this is by putting it into a vise. So you set it into a vise. Good idea to have soft jaws on the vise, and just put it in lightly, just enough to hold it in place. And again, the tricky part here is getting this lever in with the spring in place, because the spring is going to push up, and you have to slide the lever into the side. So you have the lever spring, and you're going to place it into the detent in the frame. Then you have the lever, which has a detent also in place for the spring to fit into. But the lever has to be pushed down and fit into the stud that's on the side of the frame right here. So this is probably the trickiest part of reassembly. Line it up, and then line up the pin . And you can test it by checking the spring action. The next thing you're going to put in is the trigger group. And this is basically the bare trigger group. You take the trigger groups, the trigger spring, and place it into the back of the trigger. And the spring guide. And this has to be put in so that it's vertical. It won't work if you have it on the side horizontal. It's got to be vertical. And that has to fit into the notch that's down below. And basically you have to start out tight and at an angle and get it in place. Again, you can test the trigger action just by pulling the trigger. Then the next piece to go in is the trigger bar, and this goes stud side down into the trigger group. So it's gonna fit in like this. So on this, you pull the trigger back, to tip it up. And place the trigger bar into the trigger. Pretty much that puts most of the internals in place. There is the guide pin, which fits on the side, and that's going to be held in place by the grips. Again, we explained that these are aftermarket grips on this one, and they're not very tight. On the Bakelite grips, you're going to find that the studs that hold the grips on are a lot snugger. They start out in these holes, and then you have to push up on the grip to align them. And we have the completed grip.
Right. Put the grip handles on, put the screws in place, and then you're done.
So there you go. One cleaned and reassembled MG34 grip. Thank you, Greg.
Sure.
Thank you guys for watching. Tune in again for more tips and tricks from Allegheny Arsenal, MG34.com, and how to run your MG34.